This one against Martin Harrow. It was a harrowing draw. He just died earlier this year, Harrow did, at the age of 89. He was born in 1933, August 22nd. He died February 21st of this year, 2023. He was from Jamaica, New York, and he would become a chess master after this event. A decade after this event, he actually won the New England Open in Boston, and at some point he became a professor of psychiatry at the University of Illinois in Chicago. Martin Harrow, 2 points shy of national master here, but by the time the next ratings list would be posted, he'd have his national master's certificate in hand. Bobby again with Retti's opening, d5 from Harrow, and g3, the good old King's Indian attack. A Sicilian variation with c5, bishop g2, knight c6, inviting Bobby to transpose to the Sicilian defense. Castles says, no, I'll stick to my guns for now. Knight f6, now d3, pawn e5, queen's knight to d2, bishop e7, and Bobby finally relents and plays e4. d4 here, it's not the usual move. Usually Castles is played first, and then c3, and then d4, and then you can play knight c4, and queen c7 is the most common. But d4 in this game, and knight c4, knight d7. Queen c7 is the move most people play here. In this game, Harrow played knight to d7, ill-advised, boxing in the bishop here. Bobby with a4, Castles, knight e1. a5 is thematic here. Let's see what we get. I get a thumbs up. But knight e1 from Bobby. Knight b6. Eval bar giving Martin a slight splinter of an edge, but it's meaningless at this level. b3 from Fischer. Bishop to e6, pawn f4, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes the pawn. I really felt that bishop takes pawn. It feels stronger to me. Get another piece into play, but it's marked as inaccurate. That's too bad. Let's go back. Pawn takes the pawn, wanting to come here, so f5 by Harrow. I would think f6 could also be played, and you just create a square. Didn't like that. Not doing too good with the bot, am I? Here, bishop d2. Again, I'm going to go out on a limb and say knight e5 here would be interesting. I get a check mark finally. But bishop d2, queen d7, queen e2, king h8, gets an inaccuracy. What about bishop f6 here? That looks interesting. Inaccuracy. All right. Here, knight f3. And knight b2 should be fine here as well. I just don't like him ripping this up here, but let's see what it thinks. I finally get a star. But I wanted to avoid this knight takes knight. Pawn takes the knight. Queen's rook to e8. Now knight g5. Bishop takes the knight. Pawn takes the bishop. And here knight b4. Really? Hitting this? Well, bishop takes the knight. Pawn takes the bishop. And now a5 was played by Fischer. g6. f4 is recommended. Make a passed pawn. That makes sense. Where am I from? I live in Michigan. g6. Old-fashioned says, look at all those pawn islands. Well, let's see. Both players have 3 pawn islands. Black has 1, 2, an isolated pawn, and 3. Well, let's mark that blue so you can see that it's a separate and distinct pawn island. Note that this is not its own pawn island here on b4. It counts as the same pawn island as b7 and a7. You might rather call it a pawn archipelago. Anyway, queen d2 from Fischer here. Queen e7. And queen's rook to b1, super attacking this b-man. Pawn takes the e-man. Rook takes the rook with check and is recaptured by the rook. And now d takes the e-man. Queen takes the pawn is my favorite idea here. And if queen takes the queen, obviously rook takes the queen. Put some pressure right here on the B-man. Back, back, back. Anyway, pawn takes the pawn from Fischer, and queen c5 from Harrow. Yeah, king g8, the point of that is just to move the king to a safer place and off of this dark squared diagonal onto a diagonal that's defended. This dark squared diagonal is quite vulnerable. The a2 g8 diagonal is safer. And you can see the eval bar marks this dead equal. Anyway, queen c5 was played, defending the pawn, but we still have the super attack on the b-man, so queen takes the queen. Rook to c8, battery and super attacking the c-man, and queen retreated to d2. Queen takes queen is pretty enticing. It's what the bot recommends. Queen takes queen. And now it's very important that on rook takes queen, you don't gobble up this pawn. That's not the best route. You have to play, because of this attack over here, you have to play rook b5. I get an exclam for the, oh, it changed it. It downgraded it to a paltry star. Now we don't want to play this. Well, it upgraded it to a check mark. Well, my point is after rook takes the a-man, right? So let's say h4, defending this pawn. Rook a1 check. Stayman USA subbing for the 36th time, and that equals 3 years. Something like this. Also wrong is queen takes b7. This is wrong because of the discovered check, and then you're in real hot water here, aren't you? Yeah, this is just all over. You could try something like here that gives check, but okay, yeah, then I can pick up the pawn. I'm okay. But you can see here that I barely got out of that. Oof. Anyway, bot not liking queen d2 either. Bishop takes c4 here. Now rook takes b7. Yeah, again, you want to get out of this queen's line of fire. King h1 is the safest move. And look at the eval bar, does not like that capture at all. Well, first, Harrow played bishop a6. That scores an exclam, forcing the rook back to b1. And now d3 check is given. King h1, the bot calling for interposition. Queen takes the pawn. Big red X. Pawn takes the pawn is more hopeful. You'd have to blockade with rook c1. If queen c3, you're pretty much compelled to trade queens. And black has a slight advantage here. Queen takes was Harrow's move. Queen b4 from Fischer, looking for queen d4 check, no doubt. To prevent queen d4 check, Harrow retracted his queen 1 square, but gets the big question mark. A better way, apparently, is to prevent queen d4 with the rook and to get your rook behind the pawn, because rooks belong behind passed pawns. I can't hear you. That's right, chess pawn 921. Wait a minute, Tarrasch said that? No, really? I've been saying that for years and did not know it was a Tarrasch quote. I thought I made that little rhyme up, but according to Chess Pawns 921, Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch coined that phrase. Here I've been claiming credit for it. All right, anyway, queen c3 was Harrow's choice. Queen d6, which would have also been stopped by rook d8. Pawn d2, rook g1. And this is unfortunate blunder. Yeah, so the right way is queen takes the bishop here. And after queen c1 check, which is, to me, an awesome move, then bishop to f1 is the move. You do not play queen f1. You must play bishop f1. If you play queen f1, blunder, because I'm going to play not queen takes queen, but queen takes rook. Bada bing, bada double exclam, finally, I broke my bad streak and got another double exclam from the annotator. And the point is this, after queen takes queen, you got a Forkosaurus Rex right here. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bye-bye. If you take, capture with promotion, with check, and then checkmate. Doink, 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 and doink. So for that reason, queen takes the bishop was the only move to hold. Oh, by the way, let's go back and point out then that this is answered by the bishop. And the point here is that the queen is overworked. If you take my rook, I'll take yarn, and I will draw the game by repetition, keeping your king contained, right? Anyway, rook to g1 is a losing move, except that Martin Harrow did not see the winning move. He played bishop to b7. The better move is bishop to c4, believe it or not. And the idea is I'm threatening to play here. I'm moving my bishop where it's defended, and I'm threatening to interfere with the queen, right? So let's say, for example, e5, and then I queen d3. Oh, it says I'm wrong, but the eval bar agrees with me. Look at the eval bar, 2.9. So here the annotator and the eval bar disagree with each other. It's at 2.8 here. It's at 2.9 here. The point is I'm interfering with the queen, and soon I will win the game. Rook will come over here. They x-ray the queen. Right, anyway. Yeah, Martin did not find that move and let Bobby off the hook. I should say that bishop e2 is the wrong idea here, because now e5, and you really are asking for some trouble. Let's come back. Bishop b7. I guess I should point out that this free pawn is not free. That's even more worser, right? And let's come up here, etc. But bishop b7, missed opportunity. Rook f1, which of course threatens check followed by mate, depending on what black plays. So a6, the bot indicating a6 here. That's definitely interesting. After bishop c6, then rook f1, I would imagine. Yes. Bobby with rook f1 right away. Queen c1, queen d4 check, king g8, bishop h3. Bishop takes the pawn. Double exclam for Martin Harrow. King g1, bishop f5, obviously preventing this bishop from coming up here, and probably hoping to get queen up here. Note that rook e8 would be just a horrific idea. You just get yourself mated with bishop e6. Ooh, another double exclam. Another double exclam. Right? And then we give check. And after king g7, bada bing, bada boom, the old dovetail checkmate. So bishop f5, queen d5 check, and we get king g7, queen d4 check, king g8, and a repetition. And the game was drawn.